Somebody raised a question on one of my videos. Why do I make these videos? I thought, that's a very good question. Why is it that I continue to be concerned to promote integrity, to challenge Brexit? Because the questioner's point was, Brexit is a done deal. It's over. It's finished. So let me try and answer that question. I'll come in a moment to the question of the point about whether Brexit is finished, Brexit is done. But the point of these videos in general, and there's various sorts of videos on the channel, straight me talking to camera, which has proved more popular than I thought it would be, and satirical songs and comic characters and so on. I sometimes find that an element of humour can help to put a message across, and so can music. But the answer to the question is not obvious. The observer looking on to satirical videos may think, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to persuade people who have opposing views to come round to the point of view of the person making the video. Now, I'm not saying that can never happen, but I'm also not saying that it's particularly likely to happen as a result of a video. Changing a view, in my view, is much more likely to happen as a result of conversations. Peter Cook's Let's Talk About Brexit book has got a lot of tips and help as far as that is concerned. Anyway, the video such as the ones that I've made may be viewed lots of times by those with opposing views, and I do encourage that, but they may be viewed far more, and I'm just judging by the comments, may be viewed far more by people who have views that are perhaps similar to mine in that respect. Now, the comments are a sample. When I talked about my message for people who can say, I got what I wanted for when I voted for Brexit, that one last week, for example, 20,000 people viewed it, which is a good total as far as I'm concerned. There are about 1,000 comments, so it's a sample. But the vast majority of the comments are positive, so I'm, preaching to the converted, arguably. But there are a number from people with clearly opposing views. So part of what I'm doing with the videos is I'm perhaps equipping people who might have similar views with arguments that they might choose to use that they may not have thought of. I think a lot of the feedback on I got what I voted for indicated that this was an interesting argument that that people found was quite useful. And by the way, there is another group of people who are particularly interested in the videos, and that is the international audience, who, generalizing a little bit, but this theme did rather come through. A lot of people who were very positive about seeing these videos and said, that tells us that not everybody in Britain has gone along with the Boris Johnson story. You might imagine that they might realise that there was substantial opposition to Boris Johnson and the Tories, but clearly it helps to have it illustrated. So what about those people who don't agree? Am I wasting my time with them? Well, what I can tell you is how I judge the reactions that I get. So I might classify the reactions that I get in a number of different ways. Obviously, some people ignore it, so, impossible to say what they thought of it. But there are some who look at the video. There are some who don't look at the video at all and respond anyway. And that becomes clear from sometimes from the nature of their comments on both sides of the argument. But for those who disagree, who've watched the video, there are some who look at it and respond just with abuse. What that says to me is, so the message has hit home and they want to say something about it. They can't think of anything to respond to in the argument. There are some who respond with something that is about the European Union, for example, but is nothing to do with the arguments in the video. So they'll go on and say, well, Turkey's bound to join, and what about the EU superstate, and so on, but without engaging with any of the points that I've made in the video. What that says to me is, they are somewhat concerned about what I've said. It's hit home, it's caused them to want to react, but they have nothing to say in response to the specific arguments, and so they come up with perhaps a general cut and paste of stuff that they've said elsewhere. So you can see that what I'm saying, that the most significant response is those who say, right, okay, so I've seen this argument and that argument that you've made. I've taken that into account, and my response to that is as follows. And with those, I do try and respond in, a sensible, rational way. And I would encourage that. I mean, sometimes insults get traded with other people jumping in to comment. But I think I've said elsewhere, I don't like to match anger with anger. If I get a whole series of capital letters and exclamations and whatever, I prefer to respond, rather than in kind, prefer to respond by saying, you seem rather angry. Why is that? Perhaps one of the angry Brexit winners. Back to this question of, is it an open question? Well, it is an open question as to who will be our next government. I'm appalled at the corruption, as you can, I won't go in deeply into it here, but you can look at the National Audit Office report, the Good Law Project, the cases that have been won already, the others that are being raised. So I'm appalled at the corruption that we see with this Tory government, and I would certainly work to ensure that at the first opportunity we have a different government in the UK, and that would probably be the prerequisite anyway to seeing any progress on our relationship with Europe. Though there are problems nonetheless to be solved. Brexit is not done. David Frost doesn't say so. David Frost is not happy with the deal that he negotiated. So there are open questions. There are things to be resolved. We have not in a stable situation, and bear in mind that everything that's happened so far has been, as it were, under the cloak of COVID. So plenty of trading has not been possible because of COVID. We've yet to see the full impact of Brexit. It is possible that we might see some progress in terms of improving the relationship if we had perhaps a different Prime Minister. I have blogged a little bit about that. You can find my satirical works, by the way, in book and CD and USB. You can get the full Sovereignty package, completely empty box, but it has the stuff with it. And there's a blog as well. I'll put the address on the screen. But I'm not trying to make a big point about that. Just try and answer this question of why I make the videos. And so, if 20,000 people watch something, as which is the higher score from amongst those that I've had, then that does say to me that I'm saying something that's of interest and use. Is Brexit a closed question? So I asked somebody who responded to me the other day, said, and I don't think I've got an answer to this. So do you think that if there's a referendum on a subject, such as membership of the European Union, and if there is a result, then everybody in the country should stick with that result and not question it at all? Because, of course, if the person says yes, then the answer would be, well, in that case, we stick with 1975. And you'll see Mike Cashman and Lord Tory having a conversation about that. So, okay, that's my summary of why I make the videos. Hope you found it useful.